Okay, I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order at 4:30. Roll call, Tom Barney
Here.
and Eric Brown.
Here.
Okay, agenda revisions and approval.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any discussion? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Approval of the minutes of August 28th, 2023.
Move approval of Finance Committee meeting minutes August 28th, 2023.
I'll second.
Okay, Tom Barney with the motion, second by Eric Brown. I'd like to thank Tom Barney for running the Finance Committee meeting at short notice, and also Brian Medved for joining in ad hoc. I appreciate it. I also noticed in the minutes it was an 8-minute meeting. That must be a typo, I'm thinking. No?
Was that an 8-minute meeting?
It was 8 minutes.
8 minutes?
Yeah.
I think that might
Good
be,
job,
I think that might be a record. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for that. I really appreciate it. I mean, I really don't keep track of such things, but I think it might have been 11 before, at least 9. So I think Tom now has
Yep,
the
hold
record.
the record, sure.
I'll complain about it every Finance Committee meeting from here on out. Okay, no further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Item 5, consent review and discuss August vouchers. I know there was one question anyway, and it wasn't to belittle the point either. I just wanted to know.
Yes, there was one question. The question was regarding the paper purchase for this school year, and the question was if we did get an entire semi-truck full of paper for this year, and the answer is yes. White paper, we had a full semi-truck of paper for the voucher that you
Excellent.
saw.
So the reason for that is I was under the impression I didn't think we were going to be able to get, you know, the big quantity all in one shot. So it tells me that the
Paper
paper
industry.
supply has caught up.
Right, because last year we were unable to get it, so we had the multiple smaller purchases, which obviously cost more money because they're bringing it here multiple times. So this year, the paper industry apparently is doing better, and
Perfect.
we had one truckload.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it. On the line, you also put the date of the meeting that we approved it. So not that I needed to go back and look, but if I wanted to, it was there, so thank you for that. All right, I will take a motion.
Motion to approve the consent to payment of vouchers as presented and reviewed.
Second.
Okay, motion by Eric Brown, second by Tom Barney. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that motion carries. Item 6, reports and updates, the 2022-2023 variance report.
In front of you today, you have the last variance report for last school year, which is the 22-23 school year. You will start to see variance reports for this school year in December. I wait to do them until the board approves the budget in the end of October. So November, I usually don't have a variance report, and then December is usually the first one you'll see for the current school year. But the school year that we ended on June 30th of 2023 is the report you see in front of you today. This is the final report unless the auditors make a change. I don't see the auditors making any change, but they have until mid-December to make a change, which then they will come to the board and present the audit report to you. So as of right now, I'm calling it the final report for 22-23. In the 22-23 school year, we spent approximately $55 million. Compared to the previous year, we spent $54.4 million, obviously rounding both of those numbers. For the revenue side, in 22-23, we spent, we received $56 million in revenue. In the previous year, we received $55.4 million in revenue. So you see an increase in both the revenues and the expenditures. One of the areas I wanted to address, which I've talked about each month when I brought the variance report to the committee, is 2 areas that were overspent this year. One of them was specialized transportation, which we have addressed for the upcoming school year. And the other one is an amount that we thought was going to be approximately $250,000 over, which is our health insurance, and it ended up to be around $350,000 over budget. We were informed in October from our insurance broker that we were going to be a little higher than we set the budget for, but it was too late to change at that time since it was close to the annual meeting and we were setting the budget. So we knew we were going to be over that area, and we've been tracking it all year long. Areas in which we did not exceed our budget, larger areas were salaries. We had a few openings that did not get filled throughout the year, and then also non-capital purchases. Between capital and non-capital purchases in the previous years with Frank's predecessor, there was purchases made in non-capital, and capital is based on how much money each item is. So those are pretty they fluctuate. If the previous person purchased items that were belonging in capital, they put them in non-capital. So Frank is just purchasing in different areas. So moving forward for this current year, he put the budget in the correct area. So we worked on that together, so that should fix that issue. It's not that we spent less, it's just which area we were spending the items in. On the front in your summary page, there was justification on us putting money into fund balance this year. We put approximately $1.2 million in fund balance. Some of it is due to grants. We have been receiving the Kids Get Ahead grant. We received it last year, and the rest of it we received it 2 years ago. We received more money last year, and then we just got the balance of it. So that's why it's an odd number of $12,146. We will be using that during this school year for a designated purchase. It's actually the balance of someone's wages. So we took a portion of their wages in the previous year. We've used the majority of the grant for that person's wages, and then the balance of their will be used this year. Another area, we received COVID relief funds. Prior to Jeff, the predecessor to Jeff in our technology department, told us that they completed a grant. Our auditors then have us mark it as a receivable. We've now looked into the grant, and it is not something that we are receiving, so that will be removed from our fund balance. So right now it is designated as a receivable, so it says that we have the money or that we're gonna get the money, and we are not. So in 23-24, this current year, we are going to work with our auditors to remove that from our fund balance, so you'll see it go down by that dollar amount. Back to school grant, we have talked about in previous reports. We are designated that for capital projects and curriculum. We are, as you know, going through a few curriculum reviews, and we're going to use the fund balance for the curriculum reviews when they come, when they are completed in our teaching and learning department. We did have some unspent site department budgets, so those added together, there were 4 or 5 different sites or departments that did not spend their entire budgets. So we did have carryover dollars there. We've worked with those individuals for their budgets for 23-24 to make sure that that's one of the reasons we did the zero-based budgeting process, to work from the ground up to make sure that there is money budgeted for the items that we are going to be purchasing this year, and we don't have leftover dollars. And then finally, the Medicaid reimbursement. Medicaid is behind. So we are receiving reimbursements from 3, 4, 5 years ago. We in our department do not have, when we receive the funds, a detail of what it is for. So it's not something that we're going to budget for. We will be working with the pupil service department because they are the ones that fill out the paperwork to see if there's a way that when they submit the paperwork, if they get any response to say, yes, you've now received this amount of money. Once we can work with them, we have not had that possibility in the past to work with the pupil services department to be able to get the details of that. So we will work with them, so then in the future, we can budget for what we believe is going to come. But again, because they're behind so many years, I don't want to budget a dollar amount that we don't know if it's going to be here or not. So that was we did not know those funds were coming. So if you do the math, our fund balance currently at the end of the 22-23 school year is 16%. Our goal is between 14 and 18%, so we're right where we want to be. Fund balance is based on what you have in fund balance compared to what you spent the previous year, so it's always going to change. If you increase your spending, it will go down. If you decrease your spending, the math will tell you it's going to go up. And then finally, just so you're aware, this is our last year to use our ESSER funds. We have 4 categories of ESSER funds. The board will get an update in November this year. Some of the items have changed, and I just want the board to be aware. We did have mental health in one of our categories, and I know that has come to this committee multiple times, so I want to discuss what we're going to use those funds for, if we want to continue with mental health or if we want to use it in a different area, because in the state biennial budget they do have more funds for mental health. So I don't want to use the funds just to use the funds unless we have a plan. So that will come to the committee and then possibly the board in November.
Thank you, sounds good. Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
It's gonna come up certainly, maybe by the next board meeting. The $1.2 million in surplus that's going into fund balance,
Mhm.
how much of that is spoken for, do you think? You know, because some of it's grant money, or is it not, is it all real and it's actually there?
Well, the majority of it is designated. So it is in fund balance, but there's categories in fund balance that you have designated, reserve, and undesignated. So I can come back to the committee, or I can send an email tomorrow and break those 3 categories out. And the only one that I believe the bucket that you're speaking about would be the undesignated. So that means that the board does not have a plan for it, or it's
Right.
not for self-funded health insurance. It's not for those are 2 areas that I skipped. Sorry, we are creating a reserve for our self-funded health insurance. You know that we went self-funded in January, and we did not have a reserve. So if for some reason we were a company that would go under, we have to be able to fund all of the medical bills that people went to the doctor for. As of right now, we don't have a reserve. So that's one thing that we have to build up every year. So $350,000 of our current fund balance is reserved for health insurance. And we will continue to need to increase that each year until our actuarial study says we've met the unfunded liability for that.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why I ask is because certainly someone is going to come before the board and say, we put $1.2 million, this happened last year, $1.2 million in the fund balance, and therefore we deserve a 25% increase in pay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's going to happen, so we kind of need to know
Right.
what it's really reserved for. But I am impressed. The fund balance, at least at this moment in time, is right where it should be, and that's come back much quicker than we expected, and that's to your credit and all the principals and everybody that's working on the zero-based budgeting. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
The board appreciates it.
And I will send an email out to the full board tomorrow, breaking out the reserved, unreserved, and designated, just so we're all aware. For example, the $351,000 that's designated for capital projects and curriculum, that's not in the unreserved category. So the 16% does include the reserved and the designated fund balance. So I will break it out for each of you so you know the percentages of each of the categories.
Okay, yeah, very good. And there's no action on this, so any questions, or?
I've got one. The technology grant that you said we are unlikely to receive,
Mhm.
is that because our technology department failed to file the proper paperwork in
Correct.
time?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, yes, Russ?
And that was the prior manager of that department,
Correct.
correct? Not our current.
Correct, and then we were trying, the business office was working with our current technology department to find the information behind this, and we were unable to, we reached out to the grant supplier, and they said that we didn't submit the information, so we were stuck. We're not gonna receive the funds.
The board goal, 250,000.
Mhm.
That's the strategic fund that we're trying to build, correct?
Correct.
There's no notation next to it, so as Mike was alluding, we're gonna have that question thrown at us.
Correct.
What
so
goal?
the board, it's under my.
Sound fiscal management of
Financial
the school
goals.
district would be the answer. Okay, thank you.
I should have put more detail in there.
No, that's okay, I
And
just,
that's been multiple years.
yeah.
Brittany?
3 years.
3 years.
Mhm.
That's been funded at that dollar amount for 3 consecutive years.
Yeah, that's a concerted effort by the board.
Mhm.
Okay, I think we can move on. Item 6, oh, I'm sorry, I think there's no unfinished business. And so we're at, that's item 7. Item 8, new business. Monthly purchase requests exceeding $15,000 in purchasing and project bill results. Number 1, County Line Boiler, number 1 replacement. Frank Lord.
Yes, yet another fun boiler replacement on hand. This one was part of, or is part of the 5-year capital improvement, and it lined up well with the symptoms that it's showing with some leaking within its heat exchanger. So I just want to bring this one up now in hopes that we can get it replaced soon enough so we don't have to run into that type of scenario as we did last year. So it works out well that way. Again, this, as much as this one is kind of hitting its life expectancy, unfortunately, because of the aggressive water that we do have within the village and lack of previous filtration and monitoring, it really, it wreaks a lot of havoc on a lot of those mechanisms. So again, this includes the side stream filtration and upkeep of the loop itself. So it should be top tier, and if anything goes wrong, it is not due to the water.
Did you check with our high school welding shop to see if they could come over with a TIG welder and?
I
know,
did
fix
not,
it?
but in all honesty, I've brought things of that nature past this before. I think really the big thing for me was that since it was on not just the 5 year that I had generated, but that for several years somewhere within there, I think that was kind of my flag to saying it's time for it to be
Yeah.
replaced.
I hear you. So it'll be this filtration system, it's a water softener, I take it, and
Yep. So
Something
it'll
else.
be a water softener hooked up with the side stream, which is a 2-tier filtration system that just hangs off the side of it, and any water within the loop going to the boiler will go through that regardless. So even if we get for some reason we have to drain the system a little bit to work on something, or whatever it might be, bleed the system in any way, shape, or form, all of that new water would then go through that filtration as well. So nothing touches that boiler that has not been filtered.
perfect.
Yep. That's my goal for every boiler within the district that does not have one. I think there's 2 left,
Okay,
if I know for sure, so.
so there have been some installed for a while and in
Yes.
good shape, or?
Yep, and unfortunately there has been one on the Rockfield boiler that was actually valved off to the point where we could not open the valve. I don't have any rhyme or reason why, but that is one we've replaced it, and we believe it's working as it should now, so.
Okay.
Yeah, received numbers from Joe DeBella, Dillett, and Butters Fetty, and they were all very, very competitive numbers, which is good for my site and obviously for us to show that, at least from the grand scheme of the trades right now, we're kind of coming back to somewhat of a acute system rather than $100,000 versus $50,000.
Right, right. while a big number, it wasn't 100K anyway.
Right.
Okay, any questions from anyone? I will take a motion.
Make a motion to move forward with a positive recommendation to the full board to approve the replacement of boiler number 1 at Countyland Elementary using Butters Fetting Company in an amount not to exceed $53,975, which is to be funded out of the Capital Improvements Budget, Fund 41.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Tom Barney, second by Eric Brown. Any further discussion? I'll just say for those listening at home, a water softener really does extend the life of your water heater and so on. So if you don't have one, you might consider getting one. It doesn't pay for itself, but it certainly makes your water heater last a long time, and that's essentially what this boiler is. It's a water heater for heating the school. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. And item 8A2, insurance consulting services. Michael Nowak.
Thank you. In August, we took part in I should say, backing up to earlier in summer, we took RFPs for consideration of changing our insurance benefit consulting services group that we work with. We've been with USI for 6 years. We reviewed RFPs and set up finalist interviews for August. I think it was August 16th. Tom Barney participated in those with Dr. Reuter and Ms. Altendorf, myself. We heard from 3 groups, USI, Brown and Brown, and R&R. And after some deep discussion around what how we felt each group could benefit us and what they had to offer, we've arrived at the recommendation to move forward on a contract with R&R Insurance Consulting to be our benefit consulting group that we work with. As part of the process, there's a contract included that I'll let Ms. Altendorf speak to a little bit. There will also be a departure from USI. There's a 30-day notice that we need to give. I've had communication with them, and we'll follow up after the board meeting. That is a week from today, so 2 weeks from today. Anything with the contract you want to offer?
I would just add that this came about as we moved to self-funded at the beginning of the calendar year, and maybe the services we were being provided and the timeliness of the services, as well as the depth of services we had questioned. So we thought it was good practice to, like anything, go out to bid and look at other service providers like we do in all areas of operations of the school district, though giving USI a chance to recommend or to come forward with kind of a new pitch on how they work with us as well. And we asked Mr. Barney, I've been part of the insurance committee, ad hoc insurance committee historically, as the chair of that, to join us in the interview process as well. So I don't know if you have any thoughts, Mr. Barney, on what you saw in the 3. I mean, we were here for a whole afternoon in-depth
Right,
presentations.
yeah, I appreciate the time of all the companies coming in. I definitely agree with the recommendation that the administration came up to move forward with R&R.
I noted it in the write-up as well, but we also did speak with other districts that use R&R, and the reviews were very strong. I bring that up because they were stronger than I would have anticipated, which leaves me pretty encouraged about where we're going. And those districts, one in particular, is a district that is about a year in front of us relative to self-funding. So we feel real confident that R&R will help us significantly in that regard.
And they seem to be very customizable to our needs and where we want to go from a standpoint of self-funded, but also from a wellness aspect as well, and expanding and how we can make sure we have a wellness program that truly engages our employees to hopefully get insurance costs down and the number of doctor bills that might come forward. Pending your approval this evening and going to the full board, we would, Mr. Noack's been in contact with R&R to come and do a presentation during reports and updates at the 25th,
Right.
September 25th board meeting. Tell me wrong date on purpose, right? September 25th board meeting to kind of introduce themselves, the services they're going to provide, and then the contract will be approved through Finance Committee.
Okay, did you have anything, Brittany?
No, attached to the contract is the first 2 pages or 1 page that you see in your packet is also a scope of work. We did add some items on the scope of work such as the IBNR calculation, which is very important for the self-funded health insurance. We added that they will meet with us monthly in person. In-person meetings are important to me when we're talking about health insurance. We're not a virtual person one. I think we'll have 2-hour meetings every month regarding our vision for health insurance, what direction we want to move. Another area with Dr. Reuter already spoke about is our wellness platform. So currently we have a certain platform that we might move away from, and they have a designated person for us that will work with us on our wellness program. So we believe that they have the correct people in the right places to help us with our vision.
Okay, good. I noticed on the last page, IBNR was not defined. What is that?
Oh, incurred but not reported. So that is between the time that our year ends on June 30th. If individuals went to the doctor but the bill has not been brought to the district, they create a liability basically that states that this amount of bills will be coming that belong in this fiscal year. So please put this in this fiscal year even though you have not received the bills yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to thank everyone that participated in this, especially Tom Barney. I did not know that it was going on, so I take it this R&R will help both HR and the business office?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's crossover, definitely.
Okay, good.
And has been and will continue to be.
Any questions? Otherwise, I will take a motion.
I'll motion bring forward with a positive recommendation to the Board of Education to approve a contract with R&R Insurance for benefits consulting services in an amount not to exceed $42,000 using the general fund dollars.
Second.
Okay, motion by Eric Brown, second by Tom Barney. Any further discussion? I hear none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. I think I'll have one more motion.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion to adjourn by Tom Barney, second by